Hi everybody, how you doing? Excuse the fans. I'm in the garage. Just kind of it's 104 outside. Well, technically, so but my just keep an eye out because my daughter had some car problems and I want to make sure everything's okay. She got to the tow and all that, so I got the door open. But so Congress is out of session and they're home getting ready for through this through Labor Day when they come back after Labor Day uh, to talk about you know the midterms and everything. And things are kind of shit's hitting the fan right now. The most important thing we have to talk about is the war that Trump started in Iran. Okay, a war that Benjamin Netanyahu talked him into doing. A war that we become Israel's bitch for. A war that they tried to intensify by convincing Trump he was going to be assassinated by the Iranians, hence leaving the press and a whole bunch of staffers out as an open as a decoy while he ran away in a catering truck. Okay. But what's getting worse is the treatment of our military personnel. And I've never been in the military. I've known people in the military. I lived through the Vietnam War. And the one thing that I remember from the Vietnam War, is the military tried not to go back to that. Tried not to not care about their service members. Do you remember the days of the Western Union announced, you get a telegram someone had passed away? That they finally changed it where they personally announce, go to the home to talk about the loved one who passed away serving their country. The military's tried. The military's tried to keep up logistics so they don't have to suffer in the field, not without rations, not without ammo, to make their job worse. It's been a goal of the United States military for a long time. Because the service members are what make the military run, not the fucking, upper echelon or the Defense Department or the equipment. The equipment is a tool. The soldier, the sailor, the Marine, the airman, the sailor are the core of the United States military. The non-com core is the one that makes it go. Officers are there just to officiate. But the one thing that's always made the United States military special was its enlisted men and its non-com corps. I mean, the Soviets don't have it, the Russians don't have it. They're officer down. Small unit techniques with the ability to think on the run with non-coms that can make decisions, that take lieutenants with them on the ride so they can all work together as a unit. That's been the goal of the United States military. One of the reasons that the Ukrainians have been holding off the Russians for so long is that we're trained that way. Okay, to be independent units working as a whole. But that's always dependent on the competency of the Defense Department. And most of the time it is. Most of the time, even on the Republicans, the Defense Department is competent. You have people who have been in the military, know how the mechanisms work, know that they have to take care of their soldiers. They didn't believe in the fantasies that people kept putting out there, that the Russian military is better than the United States military, or other militaries didn't take it. It's just, I am amazed how quickly it took to bring the United States military to its knees. And all it took was less than 2 years of incompetent leadership, and Trump, the civilian leader of the military, the president, who does not believe in the military, looks at them as a bunch of bags of GI Joe soldiers, those green ones that you crack open and dumped on the floor. Remember those? All right, the ones that you would have, the same guy like 10 times. You remember those? Okay. That's what Trump and Hesketh sees as our military. Disposable units. So the controversy about the USS Abraham Lincoln is sad because it shouldn't be like that. they have deployment parameters. They have deployment operation um, plans that are made even during war, where rotations happen, logistics happen. Okay, you do not put people out to sea that long, not even in war. Okay, in case you're really being pressed, and we're not being pressed. Okay, so what they've done to the USS Abraham Lincoln is bullshit, because that ship needs maintenance. Ship needs to be resupplied. The soldiers need to be rotated out. The sailors need to be rotated out because fresh bodies are the best thing. Okay, they need a break. They need R&R. Okay. Now, as you've heard, there have been reports that it's a disaster on Abraham Lincoln. No running plumbing, no food supply. There's something gone wrong with logistics. As I said in a video before about Pete Hesgeth, who hates incompetency because it makes him feel weak, because he knows he's not a competent man. The first thing that goes to the logistic people in any bad company, because logistic people tell you where everything is and how money can be spent, and how to keep the thing running smoothly. But they're the first ones to go because they're the first ones to question bad management, and that's what's happening in the Pentagon. That's why CENTCOM is lying about everything. Central Command is just a bunch of Trump-the-fucks. They lie about deaths. They lie about everything. Okay? And the Abraham Lincoln is a mess. Families are getting messages from their loved ones about how bad it is. When men are trying to kill themselves off the top of a aircraft carrier, which is insane way to die, things are bad. And what's worse is the people on top don't care. Donald Trump, when asked about it, the families are saying, no, that didn't happen. Pete Hesgeth, no, they're lying. But Donald Trump was the worst. No, that's not going to happen. You think they've been deployed that long? No, they haven't been deployed long enough. And what I like is the armchair fucking warriors who comment on, yeah, well, when I was there, you were not there. If you were there, okay, you would not be commenting like that. You would be concerned about those soldiers and sailors. You would not want them to go through what you went through. Okay? This is not a fucking frat. Okay? Those soldiers who went through that would not want the soldiers behind them to go through that, or the sailors. They don't. They don't. If you're making a comment like that, you are a liar. You've never been in combat. You've never been in that situation. And that's the problem with Pete Hesgeth and all the fucking leftovers left over in the Pentagon. A bunch of sycophantic liars. And our men are paying for it. Now they got to get the Abraham Lincoln out. But I think Polsa on the politics said it right. They don't want those guys off the ship. Because once those soldiers come off the ship, they're going to start talking before the midterms. And the Republicans are fucked. But the hardest thing is this is another example of the lack of empathy of the Trump administration. It does not even go toward their so-called enemies, or the transgenders, or the people of color, or the immigrants. It's about those they feel are just tools. And to Donald Trump walking away to go to Bedminster to go ahead and play his golf, he got shot up the last couple of days so he can keep going with all the miracle drugs that he's getting, but no one's getting health care out there. He don't give a fuck. He's happy. Because honestly, their suffering makes him happy. And Pete Hesgeth, they don't know shit. So, if that's not another reason to vote blue in November, I don't know what is. Because everything they're saying, including their love for the military, or the soldiers and those who make it run, is a fucking lie.